Hey, good evening. Katatapos pa lang kasi mag-upload ng nag-upload ako ng 4 na video eh. Medyo tapos pala. Okay, good evening. We will start immediately our lecture. This is now a formal lecture. And please listen and immediately ask question. You can type your question immediately because since this is a lecture, we will pick up 1 or 2 questions from each and every lecture for our exam, quiz, and midterm. Okay, yan. Wait. And we will start with timber design. Okay, timber design. So we have this problem solving. We have PDF that we selected to be our textbook, but this is also good for board exam purposes. So pagsabayin na natin yung ito reviewer, dapat talaga textbook tayo pero problem solving, ano yung mga nakalagay, no? Gagamitin din natin yung textbook ay yung PDF. Let us go to ito yung content ng timber design. So timber design is up to midterm only. After midterm, we will tackle steel design. So please do not be absent in any of these 5 meetings because we'll tackle each and every of these topics. Bending in shear stress, notching on beams, allowable bending stress, curvature of beams placed on top of each other, bolted connection. So hindi pa natin matakal ito ngayon. Bolted connection, purlins, composite beams, flexural and axial tension, flexural and axial compression, wooden columns, tapered columns, axial load with bending, composite columns, deflection of beams, notching on trusses. Okay. Actually, if you will recall, in your major subjects, the first structure that you're taught with is about trusses. However, we will not talk about trusses here, but notching of trusses. Okay, we will explain this further. Okay, let's go immediately. We do not need to do this. We do not need to do this. We just need to do this timber design topic. So, how much? 256 pages. Okay, we'll do it very fast. And that's why you have to gather yourself and be on guard for any questions that you want to ask. Okay? At any given topic, when we left the topic, it's very hard to go back and answer that previous topic because we have 256 pages. No? So as soon as the topic is being discussed and you have question or you want to clarify something, immediately post your comment, and I will on the lookout for any possible questions. Hey, I also monitoring your attendance. So good evening, Earl. Good evening, James, Jasper. Good evening, Ernesto. Good evening, Jason. Good evening, Adele. Good evening, Jericho. After this, the other subject will be discussed in succession. We'll discuss highway or transportation engineering, and we will discuss project management. Okay, so it will become very fast too. So gather yourself again. Okay, be ready. I will beforehand call one by one just to check who are not around. If you're around and listening to this live lecture, please make a remark so that I could be notified that you are present. Okay? I cannot see any one of you. So if you will not say anything, I will not be able to be notified. We have you covered everybody because I handling 3 subjects and about 12 students each. So for timber design, Ernesto, Joven, Jonas, uh, Pearl, Jason, Jasper, David, Steven, Mark, uh, Mary Joy, Mark Dennis. So those are the students. Those are the students, and I already mark your um, group study participation. I already mark your group study participation. Okay. So anyway, those who are not complete and would like to get their bonus points, you would like to get your bonus points, you can do it from now on still, just before the submission of grades for midterm. We will not give any deadline, but the final deadline is the submission of grades. So whenever possible, please do it and try it to get your bonus points. Okay? Okay, that is enough for our reminders. So let us formally define our subject. What is timber design? Timber design is a subject that uses design methodology by the associated raw material, which is particular with timber. Okay? So particularly an associated raw material, which is timber, used in design method. Okay? In order to what? Build a structure, build man-made tower, bridge, or infrastructure. So whatever we would like to use the raw material wood as our main component. Okay. When we say main component, in some of our topics, we will use steel plate, we will use bolts which are made of steel. So it's not entirely uh, from wood. Okay? However, timber is a raw material which came from wood, which which is the main source of timber. What are the raw materials? Engineering, structural raw materials that came from wood. So those are timber and lumber. What are the difference? What are the difference of wood, timber, and lumber? They refer to the same material. If you tell me wood design, lumber design, timber design, they are referring to the same material. It is specifically defined in this subject in your discipline that timber or wood is the most generic term. No, wood is the most generic term, and when the wood is uh, gathered, cut, processed, machined to form a particular shape, to form a useful shape, to form a useful geometrical configuration. So it is now uh, becoming what we call timber. Okay. So that is the difference between wood and timber. And how about lumber? Much later, how many pages from now, maybe we will give the technical difference between timber and lumber. So technically, they have some small, very small differences. So take note, since this is your major, you should be able to differentiate these three words, these three terminologies. Okay? All right, let's go. What are the main concepts involved? Stress. And what are stress? Stress is a engineering uh, amount or unit or factor that is used in design. So it is a parameter. It is a consideration in a civil engineering or structural design. So stress, because stress is the amount of energy felt by the material in resisting a load. in overcoming a load, in countering a load given to this structure. For example, we have a column or post. What are the possible load of a post? Possible load is the vertical load which is influenced by gravity, particularly live load and dead load. They greatly influence. They are greatly uh, directed towards the post or column. So, since they are directed to column, the column must be able to resist this load. What is one particular type of dead load? For example, a particular type of dead load is roof. The weight of the roof is a load. How much weight of the load? Different houses, different building will have different weights for their particular roof. And therefore, no, no two different posts will carry the same amount of load because they have different amount of roof load. Okay. So, for example, roof load A is about 200 newtons. 200 newtons, if there are only one post supporting it, that post should be able to resist 200 newtons. Okay? So that is the idea. If there are four columns that is designed to support the 200 newtons, so maybe we can distribute it properly, we can distribute it equally, and that is the ideal distribution into four columns, and therefore each of these column would be required to resist 50 because 50 times 4 will become the total load of 200. Okay, so so resisting this load will give will be manifested by the word stress, will be manifested inside the timber or inside the lumber or inside the wood by the criteria stress is being manifested inside. So therefore, stress is uh, a quantity that is being felt by the column, by the post, in order to hold the load being put over it. Okay? So that's why we have stress here. So that is the only reason we use stress. And this is not the first time that we know about the word stress. We already know about stress from our previous prerequisite subjects. Okay, as far as what P6, we already know stress. However, the difference in this subject is we would like to relate it in a particular application. This is the first time that we use stress that is directed to a lumber or a timber or a wood. Okay. So this is the first time that we will apply it in a particular material. Okay. So therefore, since this is being felt by the timber, therefore we will have our concept of stress being tackled again and again in this course. So what are the different types of stress? So there are several types of stress. However, we will select all the necessary ones, all the important ones, and all the complicated ones, because other types of stress will be very simple for you to be able to do it on your own. So the most complicated type of stress in this is what we call the bending. It is the type of stress that is being felt when the material is being bent. Okay. When you bend, okay, when you bend, okay, how to bend this material, okay, when you want to bend, okay, you want to bend this material, the material itself feel the bending stress, okay, inside with its what, with its atoms and molecules, atoms and molecules of this material feel the bending stress at different location, at different points of its cross section. Okay, so we will use that concept, and from our structural theory and strength of material, we already have a relationship. Okay, so bending stress is equal to mm, MC over I. So this is the main concept. This is the main theory that relates how many variables? 1, 2, 3, 4. So this equation relates four different variables. Okay, and this variable is what? Stress. So that is the structural variable. This is a geometric variable, meaning this variable can be calculated, can be computed from its shape, from its dimension. Okay, and what about C? C is also uh, in terms of distance, so also a dimension, but with particular definition. Okay, that is so important that we will again and again use this variable. And what is M? The most learned variable in your structural engineering major courses. Every time we talk about structural engineering, M will come up. And what is M? M is the moment. This is the moment. Okay, it is moment. Okay, so let's go further. So I am monitoring the live coverage. However, I have a very bad resolution, and it is not clear. It's not clear. So I will writing it down here. Bending stress is all right. You can read the bending stress. Bending stress. But I will write the relationship in a bigger font. So this is what? Bending stress. Bending stress is equal to M C over I. Okay. So there is a notable difference from from the book compared to what I've written. You can see, can you see that in the formula C is capital letter. Can you see this one? C is capital letter. So FB is equal to MC over I. So this is what we are doing here. FB is equal to MC over I. But we have to use small c, lowercase c. Okay, let's do c. And the reason for that is we will consider c to be what? To be variable. So what are the variable? Small letters are the variable. Capital letters are the constant. So constant, and variable. In this case, we will first look into an equation with two variables related to each other with coefficient. What is the coefficient? M over I. So if you can recall your algebra, this is just an equation of a line. This is a proportional equation. Okay? Equation of a line. Directly proportional. Okay? Okay. So meaning we will start it this way. However, we will not generalize it and take away the possibility that M or I would later become variable. So this is just a starting point in order to start the discussion. Let us just look into a variable C and a variable bending stress. Okay? So B, bending stress. Okay? FB. Okay, look at that. And again, this is just a review from your strength of material. And if we consider what? A cross-section, which is generally used. Type of cross-section. What type of cross-section is generally used? It is rectangular type cross-section. And if we call the width to be B, this B is not width. This B is subscript. This is a subscript of F. Okay, this B is defined as width. This D defined as depth. So BD is actually the area of this cross section. So this is our chamber cross section. Okay, and if that is the case, our depth is actually equal to 2 times C, right? 2 times C. And therefore, if D is equal to 2 times C, therefore, C is equal to D over 2. And you'll notice that D over 2 just look like this. At the middle, at the center line, okay? Middle. So if we use that and substitute these values for C and I, because we already said that I describes the dimension of the timber. So what are the dimensions? D, B, and C. Those are the measurement. Okay, those are the geometrical measurement. So I, how do you express the I? So this is what? Moment of inertia. If we substitute these values here, we will be able to, because if you can notice, I is just what? BD cube over 12. Why? Because we are uh, at the what? At the center. Our base line is the center. That's why we are using 12. If we have this as our axis, obviously BD cube over 3. However, we are at the center, so we are using what? BD cube over 12. And we already wrote that D is equal to 2C or C is equal to D over 2. If you substitute this into that equation, by substitution, our bending stress is now equal part. Let us simplify. BD cube over 12 and let us what? Cancel out 1 D because there are 3 D's in the denominator. So we'll have left with 2 D's. Retain the B and cancel out 2. This will result in what? This will result in 6. Okay? And therefore, our stress formula could be written in this way. M, we have 6 here. So 6M over BD squared. BD squared. Already cancel out this one. This one. Okay? So this is our formula for what? For rectangular cross-section. For rectangular cross-section. For any type of cross-section, it is applicable here. This is applicable in any type of cross-section. For example, circle. If the circle is the shape of our timber, so we'll use this formula because it is generic formula. This is only for rectangle. Okay, so let's go. What are the other types shear stress of stress? We have shear type of stress. Shear. We have bending. We have shear. So number 1, number 2. Okay. And what is the main concept of shear? Again, from strength of material, if you do not know this formula, please return and review this specific topic from strength of material. You can find it there. Okay, I am just what reviewing it for our subject with the use of geometry and timber. Shear stress. Now we are using V because V is the globally acceptable symbol for shear. It's equal to dq over IB. You will notice in one of the group study, one of you was able to ask this question, Sir, what do you mean by what is the Q in this formula? So what is the Q? If you can still remember the Q that I told you, I only give you the what? The technical definition, but Q can be expressed in a formula. In mathematics, can be expressed mathematically. Since it is a moment of area, it is a moment of area, therefore area times moment arm. That is moment of area. So that is the moment of area. Moment times moment arm is the moment of area. Okay. So therefore, the expected unit of measure is distance cube. Right. So if we can use again a cross section which is rectangular in shape like this, we can substitute the right formula for area, which is what? Which is BD. Okay. So BD over 2 and the Y, what is the Y? Y is D over 4, D over 4, and therefore the amount of Q here, the amount of Q is BD squared over 8. So another formula. Okay, so Q is equal to BD over 2, that is the area, and Y, the moment term is D over 4. Okay, because we are here at the center, here at the center. What is the area of this? This one, what is the area of this? BD over 2, BD over 2. And what is this? What is this distance? Sorry, this one. Anyway, that is the same. The answer is the same. Anyway, to be precise, what is this distance? This is D over 4. So that's why this is D over 4. Okay. Okay, so that is the amount Q. Okay. Referred by Q, which is what? Moment of area. Okay. Now, if we can use this and substitute it here, and again, substitute the this value of I here and simplify. Let us simplify. Okay. If we simplify it, it, let us write it down here. Huh? So FB is equal to VQ. Okay, substitute BD squared over 8. I is BD cube over 12. BD cube over 12. And the B, we have B here. This one, this B, right? Uh, then you know that B is what? The width of the timber. Okay. Let us what? Cancel out. D squared will be cancelled and 1D will be left behind. 8 over 12 is what? Divide 4. So this will become 2. This will become 3. So this 3 is going to be the numerator and 2 is the denominator. So 3 halves. 3 halves. Okay. Here will become 2 and this will become 3. Okay. And what about B? This B will cancel out. Then we are left with this B. Okay? What will happen? B here, BD. So this is the formula. So this is our formula for rectangle. So this formula is for rectangular cross section. Right? Take note of this. Take note of this. And that is B1. How about another shape. Okay. For example, triangular cross-section. So the cross-section is like this. How can you solve it if the cross-section is not rectangular? Or you can find this type of cross-section. Okay? What is the formula? So F is equal to, what will happen? Substitute for the value of Q and substitute for the value of I. And then simplify. What will happen is 3B over 2A. Okay? So that is area. This area, this is B. V is the total shear, the amount of shear. Okay. FV here is 4B over 3A. So those are the main types of consideration when we are talking about shear stress inside the timber. Okay, shear stress. Three types, rectangular, and if your design shape is not rectangle, is not triangle, is not circle, just use this general formula and substitute each of the values from its dimension. For example, the moment of inertia and then the Q for the area moment, no? Moment of area. Okay, Q. Okay. Any questions? I'm reading and monitoring your. Good evening, Jericho. Good evening, Jonas. Good evening, Joven. Good evening, Jason. So, Jason has a particular question. Sir, kailangan ba tandaan yung Q ng mga section? Rectangle, triangle, circular. Mas maganda kung kaya mong tandaan. Kasi pagka may question na ganon, pagka may question na ganon, madali mong madali mong madali mo siyang magagamit kung tatandaan mo. Okay? Kaya magandang tandaan. So, kung kaya. Kasi kung hindi kaya, i-derive mo na lang. Pero kaya mo bang mag-solve ng 3 minutes problem? Tapos i-derive mo pa yung formula? So, yun ang tanong. Ha? So, depende na sa atin yun. Depende na sa inyo. Merong tao kasing kaya yon, merong tao hindi kaya. So, hindi ako mag-preferso sa inyo ng dapat gawin. Dapat alam nyo, kilala nyo ang inyong sarili. Tulad ko. Kilala ko ang aking sarili. Mahina ako sa memorization. Kaya inaano ko siya, inaalam ko para pagka dumating sa akin, i-derive ko. Kaya anong nangyayari sa akin? Mabagal ako mag-solve kasi hindi ko memorize yung formula, diniderive ko pa. So, kaya mabagal ako sa problem solving. Pero kung kaya naman yun na i-memorize, so mas maganda. Okay, so yan lang ang sagot sa tanong mo. And yung mga ano natin, tulad nito. So may kulang yata yung ano mo, no? Yung Q ha, yung Q. 8. Pinakita ko yata dito Rectangle, yan o. 8, hindi 2. Hindi to ang, 8. Tingnan natin dito. Tingnan natin dito. Tingnan natin ang formula niya. Okay nga, ganun nga. So, ito yung tamang formula. Yung tamang formula. Yan ang tamang formula. Then ito. So, let us go to sample problem. Sample problem tayo. Okay. Sample problem. Ano nakasulat dito? Okay, sample problem. Yan, nakasulat. 100 mm. So, habang susunod natin problem, isulat natin, no? Yung given. So, 100 mm by 300 mm. So, rectangle, no? So, problem solving tayo, ha? So, 100 mm by 300 mm. Okay? And carries a uniformly distributed load of W. So, ito, cross-section, pero yan ay talagang ganito yan, beam yan, no? Beam na ganyan. And yung beam na yan ay may load na uniform daw, uniform distributed load. O yan, uniform distributed load, yan yung itsura, no? Anong value? W. W daw yan. Okay? Anong gagawin? Anong unit pala nito? Kilonewton per meter over its entire span. The beam is freely supported at its end. Freely. So ano ibig sabihin ng freely supported? Yan ang ibig sabihin ng freely supported. Simple support. Okay? If the maximum allowable bending stress is maximum allowable bending stress. Okay. What is the maximum allowable bending stress? So, ano yun? 8.27. Yan. 8.27 megapascal. And simultaneously, the maximum allowable shearing stress is. So, ito supposed to be given. So, pag given sila, magiging, magiging capital letter, pagka given. So, ang tamang pagsulat ay hindi ganito, kundi ang tamang pagsulat, capital letter, magiging ganito, capital letter. Kasi given siya Hindi siya variable Di ba? Yan. Capital letter siya. Okay? Now, ang tanong, question, alam naman natin, which of the following gives the value of maximum vertical shear? Maximum vertical shear. Okay. Number 1, maximum vertical shear. Alin yun? Ay rectangle to. So, anong formula? FB is equal to 3B over 2BD. So, ito yung inahanap natin ngayon. Maximum, ano yun? Maximum vertical shear. Yan yung maximum vertical shear. Ano daw ang value ng maximum vertical shear? Okay? Saan nangyayari ang maximum vertical shear? Okay. Review nyo Review nyo. Pagka simple support, nasa ng maximum shear? Pagka simple support. Pagka fixed support, saan ang maximum shear? Pagka cantilever, saan ang maximum shear? So, yan ang mga tanong Okay. So, ito hinahanap. Therefore, lagay natin, ano yung given? Shearing stress. Yan, yung given. And then, that is equal to 3B. And then, 2, ano yung B? 100. And then, yung D is 300. Okay? So, pagka yan ang equation, so solve for V, masosolve natin, V is equal to 14 kilonewton. I-calculator nyo na lang. Calculator nyo, ito yung lalabas na sagot. Okay? Okay. Kilo na ngayon kasi supposed to be 14,000 Newton, no? Ang lalabas. Kasi sobrang laki nito. Yan. 15,000 lalabas yan. Kaya lang, calculator nyo na lang. Okay. Kung ganun pala, you have to go to the number 2. Which of the following gives the value of the span of the beam? Which of the following gives the value of the span of the beam? This problem are actually board exam questions. Kaya may mga which yan kasi may pamimilian. Merong nakasulat na pamimilian. Kaya which? Which of the four? Which of the A, B, C, D? So ganun kasi yung sagot yan. Ang tanong pala. Okay? So, therefore, solve natin. Value of span of the beam. So, ano yun? Ito. Dito tayo mag-umpisa, pabaliktad, no? Pabalik. Tulad dito, pabaliktad rin, no? Rectangle, so ganito yung formula natin. Dahil rectangle yan. So, substitute, may mga given. Ano yung mga given? So, yan yung given. Then, ano yung B? 100. Ano yung D? 300 squared. Okay? Therefore, masusob natin ang M. So, ano yung maging value ng M? Kasi normal yan, lalabas 12.41 kilonewton meter. Yan ang lumabas sa sagot. Pagka pinalculator mo. Okay. So, since na alam mo yung moment, meron naman tayong formula na ganito. Bakit? Simple support eh. Simple support, then uniform distributed load. So, ganito yung formula. So, masosolve natin ang L kasi alam natin to. So, given to. So masosolve natin. Okay. Hindi po pala given to. Tinatanong din. So, okay, masosolve pa rin. So, tingnan muna natin. I-ano pa lang natin. I-transpose. So, ito is 12.41. Itong nasolve natin is equal to WL squared over 8. Therefore, pagka ito, minultiply mo doon, magiging 99 point something, no? 99.2. Ba? Lalabas, ito is equal to 99.2. Equation natin ha, equation yan. Hindi pa yan tapos. Then, since na ano yan, na total nitong anong ito is ano daw yung total nito is what? Sige ma'am. Tingnan natin total niya ha. Kasi merong V equal to WL over 2. Bakit natin alam to? Kasi nga simple support, alam natin ang relationship ng WL over 2. Okay? Kasi madidivide lang sa dito saka dito. Yung shear. So, dito yung isa. So, kaya divide by 2. Total nito, saka ito. Divide by 2. Kalahati dito. Okay? So, pagka ginawa natin ito, ano ba itong nasolve natin? May nasolve na tayo dito, 14. So, 14 times 2 is 28. So, meron tayong 28 dito kasi ano, nasolve na natin kanina ito, 14. Times 2, 28. Alam na natin ito. So ito, saka ito, i-divide natin sa isa't isa. Ito equation 2, equation 2, ito is equation 1, di ba? Equation 1. Oh, anong gagawin? Equation 1 divide by equation 2. Yan, divide mo lang. WL squared over WL. Ilan yan? 99.2 divide by 28. Cancel W, cancel yung isang L, matitira L na lang. Ha? So, and L is equal to, pagka sinolve mo to, that is 3.54. 3.54 meter. 3.54 meter. Meter kasi ang ano to, unit. Okay, so this is our L. Okay, answer. Okay, so yan, answer natin ha. Hindi na ba nakikita yan? Yan, kita na ano? Yan, cancel, cancel. Ito na lang natira kasi may square divide by L. O yan, 9 divide by 2. 3.54 meters. Okay. So ano pa yung isang tanong? Meron pa tayo isang tanong. Ano yan? Which of the following gives the value of W in... Ano ang value ng W? So, gamitin mo to. So, para sa number 3, gamitin mo tong equation na to. Alam mo na yung L, so divide mo na lang. The W is 28 divide by 3.54. So, ilan ang value? 7.91 kilonewton per meter. So, meron tayong 3 answers. Okay. Meron tayo. Tatlong sagot. Okay. So, very good. So, up to that point, let us go to the next problem. Next problem. So, last problem for tonight. Then we will go to the other subject. Okay, next problem. So, ibahin natin. Halimbawa, for example, we have a bridge. Okay, bridge like this. Wooden bridge like that. No? Wooden bridge. Wooden bridge. Okay, wooden bridge. So that bridge supported by what? That is supported by concrete columns. Ayan. With concrete columns. Okay. With concrete columns. Ayan. Siya, no? Ayan. Okay, with concrete columns. Then, we have what? Yan. Chess, no? This is what we call chess. 1, 2, then 3. Ayan. Yes. Okay. 4, 5, 6, Okay, yan, no? So, marami siya, no? So, up to the center, center to center, yan. Okay? So, that is 3 meters. Center to center doon, no? And then, this dimension from this point to this point, okay? This point to this point, how much? For example, this is 2 meters. So, this is 3 meters. 2 meters, okay? So, this is what we call chest, no? This wooden components are what we call chest. What will happen? We just have to drive a nail each of these pieces, drive it to the what beam. No? Okay, ponton. So, ang tawag dito, this is what we call ponton, no? Ponton. Ponton. Okay. Ang tawag sa beam na to, itong beam na to is back. Katuro dyan, ha? Back. Okay. Then ito yung chest, no? Chest. Okay. What happened? So in theory, so simple support lang yan kasi nakaano lang yan, nakalatag lang yan dyan. So simple support, 3 meters ang span, and then ang W niya is what? May given tayo, ilan kaya to? And given is uniform load is 8 kPa. 8 kPa ang umaano dito. So marami yan. 8 kPa load ang nakano dito. So lahat yan, araw dyan. Naka-araw yan dyan. Siguro sako ng bigas. So kaya basta ganyan yan. Ang load. Siguro buhangin o ano. Yan ang nakalagay dyan. Okay? 8 kPa over the chassis. The chassis has span of allowable bending of stress of wood is ang given na stress of wood is bending stress. This is given as 16 MPa. If the box have a square cross section, square naman yung cross section, square siya. Square. Compute the minimum required width. Ano sabihin? Ano to? Gano'ng kalaki to? Yan ang tinatanong to. Ano to? Anong dimension yan? Okay? Ano yung dimension na yan? Okay, so let us compute. Let us compute. So, ang W natin is 8 kPa. 8 times ilan yan? Times 2. 8 times 2. Para makuha natin ito. Ito yung side view. Dito yan. Pagka tinignan mo yan dito, ito makikita mo. So, ito, multiply mo lang. Times 2 lang. Times 2 ka lang. So, this is 16. So, kilonewton per meter. Kilonewton per meter. So, naka-ano ka? Naka-uniform load ka ngayon dito. Naka-uniform distributed load ka, ganyan. 16 kilonewton per meter. Then, kung alam na natin yan, therefore, meron naman tayong equation na ganito, since na simple support na naman, meron tayong makukuha ang value, kasi 16 ito, alam natin ang L is 3 squared over 8. So, ang value natin, okay, Pag ginawa natin yan, lalabas 18 kilonewton meters. So, moment na yan. Yun na yung moment natin. Okay? So, kung ang moment natin yan, so, makapag-solve tayo ng ano, ng bending stress. So, ano ba yung bending stress? So, rectangle naman yan. Okay, yan. Ha? Nalubat na naman. Mabuti, dala ko yung aking ano, yung wire. Okay, dala ko yung ano. Kung hindi, patay na naman. Okay. So, yan. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina, nasolve natin. So, pagka tinik mo yung cube root, so makikita mo, ang value ng B ay lalabas at magiging equal sa 188.8, 188.9. So, wala namang ganitong ano, hindi ka naman maglalagay ng ganitong dimension, although yan ang sagot. So, yung madaling gawin, no? Madaling i-manufacture, no? So, siguro, gawin natin, D is equal to 190 mm. So, yan na lang. Okay? Hindi pa pwedeng ganito, ipagawa mo sa ano, sa i-order mo, ganito. 188.9 talaga, sakto. So, i-190 mo na. 1.1 na lang ang kulang eh. No? 1.1, no? 1.1 mm, no? So, next higher ka na. So, ang pwede nyo gawin, increment of 5 mm. So, kung pwede 185, okay, kaya lang, hindi naman pwede 185. So, ang sunod na 190. Kung hindi pwede 190, 195. So, by 5 mm increment, ha? Use 5 mm increment. Okay? So, that's all for our today's discussion. Design. So, we are able to design. This is a design. This is a design problem because we are able to determine the dimension. That is the definition of design. We are able to determine the dimension of the required size for the bulk beam. Okay? While kanina, ano ba nangyari kanina? Kinompute natin yung stresses, so this is what we call analysis, no? Analysis. Because all of the dimensions are already given. So I just would like to emphasize that if the dimensions are already given, we will just analyze if this dimension would be able to resist a given load. However, in this kind, we are required to design the dimension itself. So that is what we call design problem. This is analysis problem. That's why we are through for the day. And let's jump immediately to the next topic, which is transportation engineering. Okay. And one of the most important prerequisite of transportation engineering is highway because of the necessity for more and more participation with what? Land transportation. Okay? Land transportation. Okay? So if you will count, which one is the most popular type of transportation? Land, air, or water? So land, water, then air. Maybe because the air is the most expensive. Okay? Okay. Land is the most convenient way to travel. Okay, so why are highways so important? So let us go to the first chapter. Highways are vitally important because of economic development. Because with highways, we are able to what? To transfer one person to one point from another, to transport not only a person or the human being, but the services that the human being would offer or would do to the other place. No? Also, goods. So human goods and services are the main requirements why we need highways. So it is more directly related to development and economic factors. Okay. So next, the administration of highway schemes. The administration of highway project differs from one country to another, of course, depending upon social, political, and economic factors. What do you mean by that? This is because the design, construction, and maintenance of major national primary routes such as motorways or SLEX and LEX, yeah, no? uh, are generally the responsibility of a designated government department or an agency with, okay? Agency of it. For example, LRT. LRTA ang nag-aano sa kanya. LRT, MRT, meron. Pag LRT, LRTA. Merong government agency or authority na nagre-regulate sa kanya. Okay? LRTA. So, iba yung nagpapatakbo, ibang company, iba naman yung LRTA. Para bang meron kang sasakyan, pero papa-under mo yan sa LTO. Okay? Okay? So, yan. O kaya, may jeep ka, pampasada, public. So, LTFRB, government agency. The Highways Agency is an executive organization charged with responsibility for the maintenance and improvement of the motorway road network. Okay. So, like in the Philippines, what is the agency of government that is tasked to maintain and improve the road networks? That is DPWH. Sometimes in some areas, MMDA, they do their own within their coverage of authority. Okay? And sources of fund. Obtaining adequate sources of funding for highway projects has been an ongoing problem throughout the world. And in fact, the main problem in the Philippines. Highway construction has been funded by the main public monies. However, increasing competition for government funds from the health and education sector has led to an increasing desire to remove the financing of major highway projects from competition for government funds by introduction of user or toll charges. That's why, for example, in Lex, Islex, puro bayad tayo sa toll gate. Kasi pre-navigate na nila. Supposed to be, that is what? A government responsibility. However, hindi na nila makayanan. That's why they ask the help of private businesses to be the one to improve, to maintain. Those are now the burden of those private businesses. And in so doing, they need what? Capital, and since they will invest capital, they will expect some amount of income, profit. That is mainly coming from what? From toll fee, right? Toll charges, okay? So, next, highway planning. Because of this characteristic of highway, we have to what? Plan the implementation of appropriate road network. So, planning. What are the important steps or phases of planning a highway? So number one is we need a travel data. So because we have to follow a certain design planning stage composed of several phases, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, step by step process. So we have to start with collection or gathering of travel data. So what are the needed or necessary travel data that are required for highway planning? Because there are several factors. The level of this requirement for travel depends on a number of factors. For example, location of people's work, shopping, and leisure facilities relative to their home. Because we want to transport human being, services, and goods. So, location of people's work, shopping, leisure. Okay? Shopping what? Goods, leisure, services. And people's work, human being, have to travel. So, this three is actually always uh, go hand in hand and should be addressed. The type of transport available to those making the journey. What are the type of transport? Bus, jeep, motorcycle, okay, tricycle, taxi, LRT. So those specific types of transportation will give us different characteristics and traits. Uh, for example, LRT and trains do not have so much traffic, but they are what? They are slower. But since they have no traffic, they are actually faster to travel from one point to another. Okay, when you are required to cover long distances. Okay, another factor is the demographic and socioeconomic characteristic of the population in question. Okay, what do you mean by that? Demographic, socioeconomic characteristic. Kung mga pangmayaman, yung area na yan, expect the traffic to be more on private cars. Then kung pang mahirap yan, expect the traffic to be more on tricycle. And kung mga middle class yan, expect the traffic more on motorcycle. Okay? So, ganyan po. Okay? Sa let us go further. So after getting the required travel data from government agency, different government agency will give you. So LRTA, MRTA, so LRTA 1, LRTA 2, so different data. Train 1, train 2, then MMDA, for example. If we are looking at the travel data in the Metro Manila or NCR, okay, then getting those data will need to go physically to different government agencies. Okay? Highway planning strategies. After we get those data, how we strategize the planning of a road network. So we can choose different approach. We have the land use transportation approach of design, the demand management approach of design, the car-centered approach of design, and the public transport-centered approach. Okay? So, what are the characteristic of each of this approach? Okay, land use transportation approach. It is where the management of land use planning is seen as the solution to controlling the demand for transport. Okay. So, pagka i-declare yan na residential or industrial, itong kabila, ito commercial. So, alam mo, ang traffic dito sa commercial. Hindi doon sa gaano sa ibang Okay, mas malaki ang traffic sa commercial. So, i-ano mo ng land use. Gagamitan mo siya ng technique para makontrol mo yung traffic. Okay? Yun ang ibig sabihin, no? The demand management approach. So, number 2. So, to control the future traffic loads, you have to manage the demand. Okay? It is management of future demand. Okay? So, i-project mo ang demand 30 years from now, 20 years from now, 10 years from now. So, gagawin mo siya ng design based on that prediction, no, of future demand. Okay? Then the next one, third one, is the car-centered approach. Has been it is being used by a number of cities within the U.S. So LA, which is most populated area, it seeks to cater for future increases in traffic demand through the construction of bigger and better roads by their interurban or intra-urban links. Okay. Anong ginagawa? Links. So, siguro, nag-increase ng widening, nag-widening, ano pa, ano ng mga skyway, ng overpass, underpass, then, ano pa, marami, mga links, mga interchange, ganyan, no? Then, mga highways, no? Then, the fourth one is the public transport-centered approach. Public transport-centered, kailangan naman dito yung pangmaramihan. So, train, railway, LRT, yan naman. Pangmaramihan. Publiko kasi ang nasa isip. Okay? Then, after deciding on which approach do we have, the approach is also need to correspond to the requirements. So, for example, in Metro Manila, I would suggest that we have to use the public transport-centered approach because there are negligible number of cars and car owners in Metro Manila compared to number of hundreds of people using public transportation by necessity. Okay? Then after which decision, we need to make a transportation study. This process will tend to be divided into subsections. A transportation survey to establish trip making patterns. So, kung public transport centered ang approach natin, for example, we are designing Metro Manila transportation system. So, let us establish trip making pattern. And then, the production and use of mathematical models both to predict future transport requirement and to evaluate alternative highway proposal. So, dalawang main ingredients. Ano yung isa't isa? Yung una, transportation survey, initially, planners decide on the physical boundary within which study will take place. Okay? Most transport surveys have their basis the land use activity within the study area and involve making an inventory of existing pattern of trip making. Trip making, anong gagawin? No? Paano naglalakbay yung mga tao? Okay? Together with consideration of socioeconomic factors that affect travel patterns. Travel patterns are determined by compiling a profile of the origin and destination of all journeys made within the study area. So, napakarami nito na i-measure mo, no? Origin and destination of all journeys. Okay? Napaka-masilimot yan. For those trips originating outside the study area, traversing is external cordon. Okay. Pagka labas na ng iyong pinaplano, edi parang naka-cordon lang, hindi na titingnan. Okay? This survey should also gather information on the adequacy of existing infrastructure. Kung meron na infrastructure, di ilan ang kakayanin pa noon? Ano ba ang full capacity noon? Bago magana naman another possibility or another alternative. Then the second one is the production and use of mathematical models. At this point, having gathered all the necessary information, models are developed to translate the information on existing travel patterns and land use profiles into a profile of future transportation requirement. Okay. Ano yung kaya yung pwede nating predict in the future na magiging behavior ng transportation requirement. Okay? Then, after that, yung transportation study na yan, decision making process. Susunod na. Okay? Decide na tayo. Ano naman yung mga steps sa decision making process? We have to define goals and objectives. Okay? We have to formulate criteria, measures of effectiveness. Para hindi lang goal in terms of words, but quantifiable. So that later on we can compare if we are really making progress, if we are making headway to the goal, okay, and objectives. And then number 3, generation of transportation alternatives. Okay, here, number 3. And after generating different possibility of transportation, evaluate those alternatives. Okay, we can now evaluate, then we can measure, then therefore, since it is quantifiable, we have a clear insight on what will happen. Then the last step of this is selection of preferred transportation alternative group of alternative. Okay? Ano ba yung preferred transportation requirement or solution that could be proposed? Okay? And then anong mga evaluation ang pwede magamit? Yung mga standard evaluation tools like cost-benefit analysis. Okay? Another one is the environmental impact assessment. So, mga ano na yan, mga standardized ano na yan, system to be able to rationalize the planning process. Okay? So, next is about economic assessment. Here, economic assessment, we have to estimate the impact of this project in our society. Okay? Cost-benefit analysis, the most widely used method of project appraisal throughout the world. Okay? So, yan ang pwede natin magamit kasi yan ang kumbaga standard. No? So, next of this is environmental assessment. Okay? So, kung meron tayong economic assessment, meron namang environmental assessment. So, that must be satisfied also. And we have public consultation. We have those steps taken up, then let's go to the public and consult them further. For major trunk road scheme, public hearings are held in order to give interested parties an opportunity to take part in the process of determining both the basic need for the highway and its optimum location. So, pinupulsahan natin kung alin ba talaga kagustuhan ng masa ng mamaya, no? This public hearing will be required if the proposal seem to have significant environmental, social, and economic effect. Okay. Pagka talagang affected dyan ng mga variable na yan, no? Parameters na yan. Require substantial way leaves, rights of way. Kung nakakailangan ng talagang right of way, di baka hindi yan maging successful. Okay? Have a significantly adverse effect on property adjoining the proposed highway. Okay, so para madetalye natin yung mga bagay na yan. Which are very important. Lalo-lalo na sa posting. Okay. And because of this, we are through with the discussion of the first chapter for this transportation engineering. So, we will continue this meeting and let us to the last subject, construction management. So we already tackled chapter 1 of timber, chapter 1 of highway, and then chapter 1 of construction method and management. So chapter 1, organization and management. So let us go to the definition. What is an organization? So what is an organization? So an organization, okay, so what is an organization? So what is an organization? Here, organization is a group of individuals who are cooperating willingly and effectively for a common goal. It is nothing more than the mechanism by which administration directs, coordinates, and controls its business. So, para magkaroon ng mechanism yung ating administrator na makontrol ang negosyo, ang operation. Okay? It is indeed the very foundation of administration. To be specific, organizations seek to know who is to do and what is to be done. Okay? So nakalagay sa organizational chart yung mga involved na party and by giving them the position, the name, specific designation, we can infer what responsibility are the have those people are those people have in their organization. Okay, and because of that, we have to structure an organization, and the structure can be done in several ways. And there are elements of an organization. Okay, so there are several structural patterns. So distribution, function, vertical, horizontal authority, communication, decision process, policies. Okay, so who are the elements involved? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5M. So we have 5M. Man, materials, machine, methods, money. Okay. Always involve money. Huh? Structural elements of an organization are the human workforce. Okay. At different levels, at different position, at different designation, different work and job assignment. Okay. Number 2, materials. Presents the materials necessary in the distribution of function or in the attainment of its operation. Okay, so how to operate, how to produce something. If their product is alcohol, so they need raw material to be able to do this. Okay, so need materials. Okay. Number 3, not only materials, they will also need machine to be able to realize the shape, the different patterns, right? So machines are the tools that are necessary in producing this output. Okay. And number 4, methods. How this machine are planned to be used, no, in a particular sequence. No? So those are the method. If the machines are used in a particular sequence in a specific way, we can call that a specific way method, okay, or procedure. No, so they are used in the course of operation. Okay, and then lastly but not the least, money, financial resource of the organization is of course very important. Okay, and are the principles of good organization. Business organization has conditions peculiar to itself. Okay, anong peculiarity? Okay, so let us give some of the most important ones. Principle of objective. A clear and complete definition of objective must be known before we can plan anything else. Okay? Yan ang pinaka-guiding principle. Okay? And then, yung guiding principle, general, then i-detalye yun ng lahat ng mga tao in the organization and distribute it among themselves according to what? According to their skill and function duties. Okay? Number two, analysis. Sound business judgments attempts to build an organization through full knowledge of requirements of the business so that they can analyze it properly. Simplicity. The simplest organization that will serve to attain the desired objective is considered the best. Simple, simplest, the best because it will cost the least. Okay? Functionalism, the organization should be built around the main function of the business, not around the individual. So the individual should be able to adjust himself into the functions in a normal operating condition. Number five, departmentalization. Big organization, the scope of only in big organization, scope of operation can be very broad, and therefore we have to uh, tackle it one part at a time. Okay, cut the whole department into different or several sub-departments. Centralization of authority. That's why they are clearly shown in the organizational chart how the lowest level person would be able to uh, know the mandate given to him by the highest authority. It will go through several layers, then finally to his or her immediate superior and to himself. Okay? Number seven, limited span of control. The number of subordinates an executive can manage effectively. So it will depend to each individual. Okay. What are the next important factor and terminology in this course? Method. So construction method. Okay. Construction method is about the techniques that we have to employ to use to be able to construct a project. So project, that's why it is project construction management. Huh? So and construction method and project management. Right? And therefore, what is method? We already know. We already explained. What is management? By the way, construction is the process wherein somebody is in the uh, operation of producing or making, uh, having to realize particular product, goods, and services. Okay? While management is a process, also a function. Therefore, management is both a science and art. Okay? So, the most important concept in management is to be effective and systematic. To be successful and be scientific, management must be also humanistic, where machine may have standard of efficiency and be set to run at a given speed. Human beings, whether manager or workers, cannot be so easily regulated to a predetermined point of accomplishment. Human beings preferably should be led by goals and they accept as justifiable, working fair to all concerned. This leads us to human relations has been proven by many times that the application of good human relations pays off through cooperation and coordination, leading towards greater accomplishment. The next management structures could be very different from one organization to others, and it is because of the line of responsibility of the specific organization and their culture. Okay? How the management be able to control? the operation. Okay. It includes activities that require restrictive or corrective action. Matters like excessive labor cost, anti-equipment failure, or disproportionate fuel and maintenance cost should be controlled. The success or failure of any enterprise depends greatly upon the manager. So that's why a manager is an important ingredient in the collection of data and using this data to control the operation. Okay. The need of effective communication system. To the manager, information has four purposes to serve. It must answer the question that we are going to do. How well are we doing? How can we do better? Does it serve as an aid to coordination? So every action that we take, it must answer these four four purposes to serve. Okay? It must answer question: what are we going to do? How well we are doing? How we can do better? Does it serve as an aid to coordination? What is the manager? Therefore, the quality of a manager is important if we are looking, expecting to have an effective manager. He should study, analyze, and dissect his job. He knows how to delegate the administrative details of his job. He is willing to delegate to and share with his subordinates the credit of a job well done. Share, not owned by himself. Okay? He trains and develops his men to prepare them to assume delegated work. He knows how to control and plan his time. He institutes controls for effective performance. After the managers uh, do also the executive functions of uh, planning, directing, organizing, and controlling. These are the essence of the executive function of the manager. For example, planning. What is planning? Laying down the objective, giving the policies, writing the procedure, giving budget, assigning budget, and uh, producing the program. Okay? And then how about organizing? So organizing is giving or assigning functions to its uh, line of work and designation, and then those function and designation are now subsequently being assigned a specific person who have the corresponding skill required by the function. Okay? And also, this is true with any activities or events or plan or program that the company needs. Okay. Directing is about guiding and overseeing the subordinate, but it is also important because if you do not guide and oversee, which is a natural instinct that human being uh, will result this operation to fail. No one will be able to get their job done if they are not being guided properly and overseeing their job work. Okay? And leadership has been defined as the process by which an executive imaginatively directs, guides, and influences the group, okay, by using leadership skills. Coordination is the process whereby executive develops an orderly pattern. So, to coordinate with pattern, with standard, so that we can be most efficient without affecting our effectiveness. Okay? Clarifying authority and responsibility, careful checking of observation, facilitating effective communication. And this main executive function will enable us to write and do the uh, critical task in the formulation of policies and procedures. Policies are general statements which guide or channel the thinking and action of members of an organization. So they are the guiding statements, while procedures are a reflection of policy that detail the specific action and state and stages or phases that must be done in order to accomplish anything. Okay? So the new concept of leadership today is to be able to delegate the leader's authority to achieve its objective and use autocratic style of leadership when is an expert or when there is an emergency situation or quick and decisive action appears. And it's not necessarily that the leader should always test or always be right in his usual operating mode. But in times of emergency, the leader should be able to give quick and decisive action that are necessary to be able to succeed in function independently. Okay? Education. Huh? And then responsibility and authority should be defined in each and every uh, level of organization and each and every personnel so that they are clarified and can be easily coordinated from one another. Scientific management is the root of management science, tend to the work of Frederick Taylor, who propounded the machine model or scientific task management theory with following peculiarities: division of labor and specialization, unity of command and centralization of decision making, one-way authority, narrow span of control. Okay, narrow span of control is the most decent one. Okay, so aside from this, to be effective, there is a human side to management. This topic, the management philosophy adopted by Konosuke Matsushita, the founder of Panasonic Corporation of Japan, was presented to know the secret of his business success. Mr. Matsushita, Matsushita is Panasonic, no? Answered, there is no magic phrase that will answer your question. Our management is anchored on the following principle. Particularly, we engineers do not uh, believe in magic. Number one, we have a good staff. Our policies were clear. They upheld the ideal to be strived for. Our chosen field of business was appropriate at any given time. We did not allow factions to form within our company. So we have to work in one direction. We regarded the company as a public institution. We followed a policy of open management. We work towards a system of management by employees. Napakaganda, ano? Transparent, no? Even though they are private company. Okay? To Matsushita, there are three management philosophies which are indispensable factors in success of enterprise management, namely goal, ideal, and vision. Okay, so those uh, are the principle that pull all of their employees together. Five key points to success in enterprise management: to have a clear management philosophy, clear goals, and definite ideal. To manage a company with a full realization that the enterprise is public enterprise. Although they are private, eh, wala silang tinatago. So, patas na employer, no? Na public nila. They practice open management to collect the wisdom of the many. This is a Japanese style management. This is a Japanese uh, leadership. Okay? People first, business philosophy. Make people before it make products. Every employee must learn to think like business manager, and every employee must share his knowledge with others while striving to explore new and better ways to perform his duties. This is management by collective wisdom. Okay? The company is looked upon as a lifetime education center or a training center for life. It is not just simply a place where you can earn salary. It is not simply a place where you can rise to a more prestigious position. These are only some of the fruits of good job performance. So meron pupuntahan. It's not boring. It's not a boring company. So you have a career. You have something to expect for yourself in the future. Okay? Directing people on the job is also important. The use of the verbal order. What is an order? To direct people by request, by suggestion, asking for volunteer or direct order. Those are the types. And malapit na tayo. Malapit na tayo. Malapit na ha. 3 pages na lang. Uh, an order is a specific message conveyed by a leader to a follower. Orders are either verbal or written. When to use verbal orders, when the order is simple and message can be clearly heard. When privacy is important, verbal. When the follower is intelligent and reliable. When a demonstration is involved. When to have written orders, when precise figures or complicated details are involved. Masyadong komplikado na, so hindi na ma-verbalize. No? And the work is involved by slow to understand and forgetful. Merong drawing pa. No? When you want to hold the receiver strictly accountable. Pagka hindi nagawa, alam na. Dahil may ebidensya. No? In particular, sequence must be followed exactly. May procedure na gustong tama. When a notice board can be suitably used. So, palagay dyan, nakasulat lang dyan sa board. Para kahit anong oras makikita na. Higher authority, general instruction. When record is desirable. Okay? So those are the character. Okay. To make sure you have a constant, you have orders which are clear, complete, concise, and acceptable. Always remember that every order has 3 meanings. What are the 3 meanings of order? The meaning you think you convey, the meaning you do convey directly and by implication, and the meaning the receiver thinks you convey. The meaning, yung iniisip mo, gusto mo i-convey. Yung iniisip niya, pagka na-receive na yung ganyang order, ano ang pwedeng maging implication ng ganyan klaseng order? Okay? So, dapat i-consider lahat yun para malinaw, klarado. Okay? How to build effective order. Clarify your objective. Obtain favorable attention. Make it simple and specific. Phrase it tactfully or best result. Explain why it should be done your way. Learn how much information and guidance you need. Let him have it. Inspire his confidence in you and the correctness of your order. Note his readiness to act. Giving faith in his ability to carry it out. Okay. Knowledge workers. Most important resource in any organization is the human resource. Whatever the industry success of any business depends on the flexibility, resourcefulness, and innovation knowledge workers being to the firm. Okay? So, in this post and new industrial society are important in an organization because they are operating in which knowledge is crucial. Okay? Um, Yun ang kahalagahan ng knowledge workers. So, with know-how, yun yung mga expert specialist. Meron silang uh, kaalaman na hindi nakikita sa general, sa pangkalata. Huh? Okay, so knowledge workers and manual workers. Pag sinabing knowledge workers, sila yung skilled na. Pagka manual workers, sila yung hindi. Eh? But kailangan pa rin sila. Kasi kailangan natin ng manual work. Okay? Quantity and quality of definable and discrete accomplishment. Yan ang pangailangan natin sa manual workers. Okay? Effectiveness should be a habit that is through a complex of practices which could be learned. Therefore, there is no reason why one with normal impairment should not acquire competence in any practice in the long run, in the near future, after the learning curve. After, after the learning curve, hindi mo pa rin ginagawa. There's a problem in it. What is needed to be effective is competence. What is needed are skills for measurement. Madali naman sinabi na. Magaling ka bang mag-drawing? Mag-create tayo ng criteria para malaman natin kung magaling siya mag-drawing. Okay? So, by putting a quantifiable set of criteria, so we can quantify his ability to draw. Okay? So, advances deliver result. Management advances deliver business results. Some companies such as Samsung have proven that radical change is possible. Lee He, chair of Samsung, focused on nurturing creativity and innovation in the corporate culture while simultaneously doing away with the hierarchical start of management. So, hindi hierarchical, kundi pa ganon. Horizontal. Lower level managers gain more decision-making responsibility and workers at all levels are encouraged to develop new skills or interests even unrelated to their specific job responsibilities. The result of this restructuring program made Samsung the leading force in electronics industry that is today. Likewise, Asian companies realized that knowledge economies based on knowledge work and workers will be the platform for future prosperity and growth. Pagka tinuruan mo at natuto yung mga yan at sinuportahan mo ang iyong mga workers ay ang makikinabang din ay yung company. Napatunayan na yan. Hindi yan na opinion at na yan mayroong ebidensya. Okay? So that's all for today for all of the subject and thank you very much for listening and I will just wait for question while recording the attendance. And for those of you who do not have question, you can just comment 2 times so that your attendance will be covered for today. Okay? So while I am just recording the attendance from start, so please use the comment box to register at least 2 comments for each of you to be able to get a full attendance for the day. Okay? So let us meet again tomorrow. Okay, I already able to get your attendance. So therefore, okay. So what will happen? Okay, so we have. Okay, you may go if you don't have any more question. Just uh, finish your second comment and you may go. Thank you very much. Thank you, Adele. Thank you, Ernesto. Thank you, Jericho. Thank you, Earl. Thank you, Jasper.